Today, I'm honored to have Harneet Singh on the show, known as the Lion founder and the innovative mind behind Rabbitt.AI, a company leading the charge in creating sophisticated AI agents. Harneet, a seasoned serial entrepreneur, believes that 2025 will be remembered as the year of the AI agent, representing a transformative moment in how businesses leverage artificial intelligence. Harneet has a balanced perspective on the profound impact that AI agents will have on human jobs. While he thinks there is still important work that must be done by humans in the future, he also believes that a vast number of jobs in a variety of industries will be taken over by AI agents.
There was a 2025 year of euphoria where you learned certain skills and you were very, very valuable.
Yeah,
This 25 year, I would say from 2000 to 2025 was that year where you learned Java and you are suddenly worth $100,000 a year. You learned Python and you are, suddenly worth $120,000 a year. So we were very short. We were progressing toward a very short-lived skill economy where we were just producing gig workers in large amounts, and people were not really focusing on fundamentals
yeah,
because we did not have any competition of humans. Today, I
yeah,
look at it that way that whatever work on this gig side, what humans were doing, now AI agents and AI models are also able to do similar kind of stuff. Now it's a supply demand competition. You suddenly have another supply coming
yeah,
in. So
yeah,
humans cannot pick all the things. Eventually, by law of evolution, they will survive where they are more competent than the AI.
yeah.
Logical, Darwin's principle, survival of the fittest. If AI is able to give me code at a lower rate and lower
Right,
tantrums, and I
right,
don't need to take care of their emotions and mood swings, and
right.
probably deal with their ego and all that stuff, I'll definitely go with
Yeah.
AI.
Please don't forget to subscribe to this podcast by clicking the subscribe button. Your engagement is what makes this podcast possible. And we have a number of exciting episodes coming up that explore the impact of artificial intelligence on all aspects of human life, including work, art, and morality.
This is the OpenAI Changes Everything podcast with your host, Stephen Walther, where we explore how OpenAI is transforming the future of humanity.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have Harneet Singh with us today. And I'm going to start by giving a quick bio. First, thank you for being here, Harneet.
Thank you,
And
Stephen.
absolutely. And let me jump in here. He's known as the Lion founder among the AI community. I am going to have to ask you about that. Harneet Singh is an AI entrepreneur and the founder and chief AI officer of Rabbitt.AI, a London-based company dedicated to empowering organizations to lead the AI revolution. With over 12 products and 5 companies built, Harneet has a track record of scaling businesses across multiple countries. He has been recognized as one of Europe's top 100 AI leaders and has served as an AI consultant for a South Asian Navy. Harneet is also a mentor at Delhi University's Startup Incubation Fund and an advisor at the Confederation of Indian Industry. So it's a huge honor to have you on the show today. Thank you again. Just out of curiosity, where are you located right now? Where are you calling in from?
So right now I'm stepping in from London.
From London. That's very cool. It seems like whenever I talk to you, you're in a different place, San Francisco or London, or you're traveling. I get the impression you've been doing a lot of traveling lately.
Yeah, yeah, that's the nature of my work these days. Yes. So typically it's US, UK,
Yeah,
India, and some parts of UAE. So
that's awesome. Building up those frequent flyer miles. Very cool. Well, so let's just dive right in. I know you've had, quite a journey. You founded multiple companies. You're a prominent figure now in the AI space. I guess I'm curious, how did you first get involved in generative AI, and what sort of inspired you to start Rabbit AI?
yeah, so I'll take a step back and go back to my journey from school days. So
Oh,
I
great.
grew up in a very humble town in India, northern part of India, and when I was studying, computers were new to our school, and when I was in fifth standard. For the first time, a computer lab was getting set up, and we were distributed computer books from a foundation who was sponsoring our school. And I remember the photo of Bill Gates on that, and that time Bill Gates was the richest man in the world.
Uh-huh.
And I developed fascination, and I was always like, I want to be successful. And Bill Gates, who is this guy? Bill Gates was the richest man, and what's the thing with computers? So that's early 2000s, right? So that's where I was figuring out, and I developed my interest in computers and technology as a whole. And that's where my school, so in class 8, I developed the first website for my school, where my school was hiring an agency for a couple of thousands of rupees. I did that in almost for free for the school, and my school was really impressed. I got scholarship, and from
Nice.
that time, from eighth class, I was shipping websites and basic apps. I made my small team as well, and we were running these gigs and all
Uh-huh.
for 2,000 rupees, 5,000 rupees, which is like $20, $30. We were making websites and apps for people. And that's where my teachers said that you should prepare for IIT, because that's where your next tech aspiration can take shape. And IITs, are like the Ivy League equivalents of India, which has less than 0.5% acceptance rate, which is even lesser
And
than MIT, Stanford, and
I'm super impressed. I mean, just for, I did some background on this. I looked it up. So I attended MIT as a graduate student. That has was it less than 7% rate? And I looked up the official acceptance rate for IIT, and, respect here. The official standards is less than 2%. So
yeah.
that's a very hard school to get into.
True, true, and it's an aspiration of a lot of kids in India, right? You have more than 1 million people sitting every year for this, and people want to really get into there to shape their career. So that's where I get into that, and that's where I'm like, no, now it's my chance, and let's do something. So I I was experimenting with a lot of things in college itself. I got the advice of a lot of good entrepreneurs who were rising in India that time, plus good professors, and we were always doing some stuff and other. So much before generative AI was a hype, we were doing certain projects which were kind of academic in nature, did not have direct correlation with business and employment, but we were working on this all that while. And that time, there was one problem. Most of the times, machine learning and AI was used in two industries, and those two industries are stock market trading
Mm.
and predictive analytics, right? And both of these industries are very specialized ones, and most of the high paying jobs in machine learning and algorithm and AI algorithms was in the stock market trading and high frequency trading, which did not interest me that time. So I pursued a different career and did not get into AI. But by the time, so then when Gen AI happened, right, when Chat GPT and all these guys were doing, we were always tracking them, we were always working on the back end. But when AI became mainstream, we were like, this is also our chance to come into the playground and do something. I'll probably shed more detail into this. So yeah, so that's how I kind of got into Gen AI. So I call people that I tell people I have an acronym for myself where I say I am dead, DEAD. So developer turned entrepreneur turned AI developer.
Okay. Yeah, I was saying that's not a very positive, acronym for yourself. But well,
So
I do have to get back to the original question. Where did the lion come from? The lion of AI. Where did that? I'm not epithet. I'm not sure what the but where did that come from?
okay. So when we were working for this international navy, we developed some solutions for defense, which actually uh, kind of saved soldier lives. These were for
Uh,
warfare and to detect naval mines with generative AI, with vision models. We improved the accuracy of models, and we were presenting it to that international navy, right? And after presenting my solution, I said, yeah. Then they got to know, oh, you are the founder of Rabbit.AI, you're the guy who founded Rabbit AI, and your solutions are impressive. But and I am a Sikh, by religion. So Sikhs are typically termed as lions by our religious gurus and all. So they're like, you are a lion and you founded Rabbit AI. That's the irony. So why did not you name your company as a lion or tiger? Because your work is like that. Why rabbit? So that's where we picked up that thing, and people who were present there in that conference, in that meeting, they all started saying, "Yeah, the irony is the lion founded Rabbit." So
That's
we
very
took with
cool.
that story, and then the lion founder acronym became popular in the industry across UK, South Korea, and now India as well.
That's very cool. Nice. Yeah, man, I can aspire someday to get some sort of, I don't know, animal associated with me, hopefully a powerful one, but that's very cool. Um, okay, well, so let's dive in a little bit into Rabbit AI. And I know that one of the things that Rabbit AI does is they focus on small language models.
Yeah,
And one of the core principles is that companies should own their own AI and data. And so all of this is, I think our viewers, and of course, I'm very familiar with sort of large language models, OpenAI and Anthropic and Gemini. I'm not
yeah,
as familiar with the small language models. And I'm not familiar with this whole notion of owning your own data and why that's so important to people.
yeah.
Can you provide
Sure.
some background on that?
Sure, sure, I'll do that. So basically, what was happening when LLMs and GenAI was coming, the biggest concern was data privacy and, of course, carbon footprint. These were the two
Yeah,
concerns. The place I come from, Europe, majorly our companies are active in Europe. So there was a GDPR and there was data privacy, and people were very very concerned with the carbon footprint and energy usage of these AI models. So these were the two areas which were slowing down the adoption of AI. That's where we thought, how can we still leverage the powers of GenAI? How we can still give a performance like a Chat GPT or an Anthropic, but do not consume similar kind of resources and do not have to take all the data from the enterprise. So we were researching, we were doing a lot of work, and finally we realized that there's a possibility that rather than, can we reverse the equation, rather than you sending your data to OpenAI or Claude and they processing it and they're giving you output, rather than sending your data to the model, can we do that I send my model to the place where your data sits?
hmm,
We asked this question, we were foolish enough to ask this question to ourselves and our customers, right? And then we thought, yeah, it is possible, but then the models have to be smaller, right? Which can be hosted inside the premise and inside the device of the consumer, of the enterprise. So that's where we started distilling the models, making them smaller. Then we're like, the repercussion, the trade-off will be they'll not know everything. But we said it's fine. So that's where we invented small language models, which are custom trained, fine tuned for specific industry use cases. For
so
example,
that
if my
makes, oh, sorry, go ahead. Yep.
For example, if my model uh, knows about legal and laws of UK and European Union, so it will only know about that. It's not supposed to know the laws of US or maybe Singapore or India, and it's also not supposed to know about maths and coding,
Right.
right? It will have limited training, limited information, fine tuning, and distillation from bigger models. Finally, a smaller model, which is very, very industry specific, can give you similar accuracy as per the GPT and other large models, but can also sit inside your device, inside your premise, and no data leaves your premise. So that was our innovation.
That makes a lot of sense. I worked at Microsoft while we were launching Azure, and we had a lot of like pushback to hosting data, especially for government data, things like that,
True,
on as a service because they're very concerned about privacy. This sounds
true,
very similar, where you have either private companies who really want to protect their data, or you have government agencies that are heavily regulated, where they just can't they need to be very careful about pushing their data out. This sounds like it's a solution to people who need to keep all their data on premise for
exactly.
regulatory reasons, or even just I don't know, a fear of losing IP, or whatever it is. And so this gives a way to do that. I'm curious about because I know, like OpenAI spent what, over $100 million training, GPT-4. It's kind of expensive. And so my fear is like with small language models, are we looking at the same types of, I mean, what is it? I assume that you're starting with some base models, some foundation models, and that you're
Yes.
working off of that, or you mentioned distillation, or you're distilling from one of the
Yeah.
foundation models into
Yes.
something. Is that what? Can you tell me a little more about how that works?
Yeah. So sure. So basically, when we want to host these models in premise, the precursor condition is that the model should be open source, so that we
Hmm.
can actually take the entire model, work on it, and host it. Or we build it from scratch. Building it from scratch is not a smart move. So we typically don't take that. We pick up some base models like Mistral, Falcon. We have worked with these models, right? Mistral, Falcon, and then Llama models as well. We've also now worked with GPT and Claude, but majorly we pick up open source models, smaller ones, and then we fine tune them on a custom data set, and then we evaluate these models, and eventually we make these models better for a industry specific use case. So here the investments are not in millions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars. So I'll tell you some of the statistics from 11 major projects we have delivered and three models we have made. I guess per model, our time to develop these models or fine tune these models would have been 4 to 6 months of running GPUs and probably 15, 20 engineers working entirely on it. And
Yeah.
our costs would be somewhere in the range of $50,000 to $500,000, not more
Okay.
than $500,000, right?
Right.
Because we're not going for pre training and foundational training. We pick up foundation models, we entirely host it on premise, we train it, we fine tune it, we also do some prompt engineering, make the model workable for you. We deploy it as an API or, right now as an API, or we can actually host it on the virtual private cloud or on-prem for the customer, and then help it make it, and then build an application layer on top of that model. It could be an app, chatbot, or a web app. So that's the kind of process we follow, and our investments per model does not go beyond $500,000.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that's reassuring. Not hundreds of millions, I mean more in the hundreds of thousands, which is much more reasonable.
And mostly
Well,
we are making
yeah.
it usable for the business. We are not
Yeah.
always inventing the wheel. We are making it usable for the business. So one two techniques we also do, so I'll tell you, we also use mixture of experts where we use
Hmm.
multiple LLM models, right? The output of one model, we get it judged with another model. We have a routing. One of the case studies I'll tell you, where right now I can tell you, we've built an intent classifier model as well. So what that does is, this is what we have done for a major bank, a global major bank and insurance company, which had a lot of incoming user inquiries in various languages across the globe, in across their website and app. So they wanted them to be redirected to the models, but uh, if you all if you transfer all queries to a bigger LLM like GPT, it will be very expensive, sometimes more expensive than the human itself. So what we did, the innovation for them, we built an intent classifier model which classified the user queries. Whatever user queries are coming, it classifies the intent, and then it tells whether to pass this to a smaller LLM, which we kind of built for them, or to pass it to a global LLM, which is a GPT or a Claude, which is approved by them, or to pass to a human agent directly without intervention of LLM, or to pass it to a normal FAQ based chatbot, which earlier existed on their website. So these four outputs could be possible. And we now improve the intent classifier model, which Rabbitt.AI built for them. So Rabbitt's model was this, and Rabbitt was transferring these queries across these four states. And eventually, when we scale it up to 100,000 requests per single day, we achieved accuracy at par and sometimes even better than GPT-4o, as well as the cost was less than using a model like an open source model, or sometimes it was lesser than, and it was way lesser than their entire contact centers which were running. So that is the innovation
That
for them.
that's very cool. So let me summarize because I think this is a really cool example. So you created a sort of low cost on-premise router model that could understand sort of the customer service inquiries coming in enough just enough to be able to figure out, okay, is this super hard? I might want to send it off to a human. Is this something that's medium hard? Maybe I can send it off to like GPT and we'll have to
Yeah,
pay some money for that. Or is this just something we've already covered in our existing FAQ system? And that way the company can save a ton of money because they have this. It's like having the I guess administrative assistant in front of the door to an office, like
yeah,
routing people away. You don't really need to talk to the CEO to figure this thing out. You can go talk to this guy over here. We're just making the whole system more efficient. Am I capturing that right?
exactly, 100%. And that's
That's
where with this
yeah,
routing, we save millions of dollars for the business. So that's why I say even in AI, you don't need to reinvent the wheel.
yeah,
More than models, sometimes it's also the system you're building for the enterprise to make those models usable for the end customer. And that's where the my experience of building past companies come into the picture, so that I don't fall in mad love with AI and try to apply AI every time for every
yeah.
problem, but rather make business sense of all the solutions we do.
That makes sense. Although it does sound like you are in mad love with AI. You're just finding cheaper ways or more efficient ways of, implementing it. So and people aren't wasting money on it. But, that's fine. That's fine. Well, so I mean, so you gave a really good example of one of the products that you created. Can you walk me through? I know that Rabbit AI consists of I think 5 products right now. Is that right? And so what are these products? What are these different things that are compose Rabbit AI?
So to start with, Rabbitt.AI started with a data annotation platform. So we had our auto annotation platform, which was improving the accuracy of existing models. So we started back in 2023 when all these guys, Tesla was developing the self-learning system, Apple was developing their AI, and some of the international defense companies were working on improving their models. So we worked with some of them I named, and we were improving the accuracy of their models through ground truth, through reinforcement learning, and through data annotation, to providing curated annotated data sets. So that is one platform where we have a data annotation, image annotation platform, which automatically annotates data and passes it to AI, so that AI can actually learn from it, train from it. So that is the first product. Sorry. Then second, we have our platform where you can build voice bots. So these voice bots, we have our own voice bot, then we integrate with Poly and 11 Labs and all of them. And we have worked on ASR to optimize for latency, to optimize for human gaps, to also build some guardrails around certain use cases in education and customer experience where we deal. So that's
Uh-huh.
off the shelf voice bots we have. Customers
And
can
so this
leverage
is
that.
this is like voice audio generation. You mentioned 11 Labs. It's kind of like creating custom sort of voices that then can be programmatically manipulated to say different
True.
things.
And then it has a prompt engine as well, where you can go and tell what your. So basically, you can create voice AI agents from this platform. The name
Oh,
is
nice.
Curators AI. It's on the website. So that means that you can give the prompt and you can ask the voice, behave like a sales agent. This is the
Uh-huh.
information you have, and these are the things you know. And you can train it via prompting. You can test it, and then you can deploy it. So it's a low code, that kind of platform. That's the second product, our voice
Mhm.
AI bots. Third, we have something called as Chance RAG. So Chance RAG is a RAG solution, which was again patent pending innovation from our side, which combined two techniques for retrieving documents. So
Uh-huh.
one was good old Google's keyword based mapping,
Mhm.
and second was cosine similarity, or rather vector search. So we assigned weightages to both of them when the retrieval thing happens in RAG. So the combination of Google type search and vector search, we fetch the top documents, and then the if fetching is more accurate, if retrieval is more accurate, your response of LLM becomes more accurate. So that you can say is a low code platform to build your own RAG with just one click, right?
Got it. And that makes sense. So you're taking two approaches to retrieval augmented generation. You're doing sort of keyword matching, which is kind of the Google-like search, and then you're doing vector embeddings against like a vector database so that you can do actual semantic similarity. So one's more like sort of the syntactic match, the other is a semantic match, but you combine them
There are
both.
weightages. So let's say your semantic search tells you these are the top five chunks
Yep,
retrieved.
yep,
You name them one to five, right? And
yep,
your keyword mapping also tells you a technique like BM25 that these are the
yeah,
top five ones.
yeah,
So you give one weighted score to keyword search, another weighted score to the vector search, and then calculate a cumulative score and retrieve the top, do a re-ranking
mm,
and
yep,
retrieve top searches, and then you pass those top retrievals into the LLM,
yep,
and the accuracy is very highly improved. And one another thing it does, it automatically balances the weightage given to both the searches basis the
yep.
type of document and context. So that's where
Yeah,
we've built.
because I could see that in different sorts of applications, you'd either want to focus on keyword more than like if you're looking for, I don't know, specific documents or
Yeah.
specific product numbers or things like that. Doing
Yes.
the vector search probably isn't super useful, but doing the keyword search would be super useful. So you want to be able to have some way to be able to, you know, dial in one more than the other or consider or control the ranking over them.
Yeah, and I'll tell you one more thing, Stephen. We built this back in early 2024, and after that, even a lot of big guys released their research papers on this particular technique. Our
Yeah,
product is live. Hugging Face is the real proof that we built it
yeah,
earlier. After
yeah.
that, Microsoft also released a paper and released this technique with the name of Advanced Fusion Technique. They also did similar
Nice.
thing, and then
Yeah.
there were other people in the industry who launched papers like that. But I'm very glad we were the first ones. But we did not publish a research paper. Next time we're going to do anything, we're definitely going to publish a research paper because we were
Absolutely.
directly doing it for our customers, and it was working really well. Our customers were happy, but we did not look at the larger picture of publishing it to the world.
Right. Okay. So we got, all right. So I think we're up to three Rabbit AI products now. What's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
what's the
Data
next one?
generation platform, then voice AI bots, then we
Yeah.
have our RAG library, and then we so fourth and fifth one is the fourth is our solutions platform where that is more for educational use case. So it's more like a career counselor, which we have built an entire end to end. This is also a B2C product. Fourth and fifth are B2C
Hmm.
products as well, not just enterprise. So this we call it Navica. Navica is your basically you can go there, you can take a test, and it will guide you for your career, what kind of roles and what kind of jobs you're best suited for.
Interesting.
So and
Yeah.
and you can, with just certain chat, it can entirely build a career map for yourself. It can also suggest you these are the roles and this is what you want, and it's more like a conversationally intelligent career counselor for you. And this is also in beta version right now. And fifth one is called as Pluto,
Uh-huh.
which is our marketing model. So it generates catchy tags. So we call it as a virtual CMO or an AI CMO. It does everything. It analyzes your website. It gives your SEO score, gives you recommendations to improve it, generates blog ideas for you, generate catchy taglines for you, suggests
Nice.
you certain conferences where you can be a part of. So it's more of a mixture of agents. It's an agentic AI, and our most recent innovation, Pluto. We are even
Uh-huh.
going to do a bigger launch of this, public launch of this soon. So Pluto is like a AI CMO, and it does everything which a marketing team needs, from SEO to content idea generation to blog generation to scheduling it on social media to also capturing the PR, the Google score, your Glassdoor reviews,
Hmm.
like more than 16, 17 parameters, and tells you your brand score and tells you ways to improve your brand score as well.
Oh, that's very cool. So you get one score back from it to know whether you're improving or not with all your marketing efforts.
And every single day, it's a dashboard which shows you where you
Uh-huh.
rank in front of your competitors, what kind of ads your competitors are running, what you should do. What are they doing on LinkedIn? What you should do. Which conferences they are attending? What you should do. What blogs
Nice.
you should write. So it's your assistant, marketing assistant, and it can do everything for you. It can also write content, but writing content GPT can also do. It's more like an
Yeah.
agent which does web scraping for you, gives you the research, suggests you things. If you say okay, it writes for you. Then if you say
Yeah.
okay, it publishes for you. So that way.
Yeah, I'm really excited about. So I've been using, of course, the deep research a lot, and I love sending off an AI agent to go off and research everything it can, come together with a plan. But I guess I'm also like, and I'm curious what you think about this. I know people have been talking a lot about agents and about doing more than because I mean a lot of the stuff you do with like GPT right now is kind of one shot. You throw a prompt at it, does the best it can, but it seems like we're starting to move into more of a direction where we have complex workflows where we need something more structured for
Yeah.
what an AI agent needs to do. It needs, way beyond like what you were talking about, like the routing sort of system is a way to break things down into more tasks. Do you see like most companies kind of moving more into that direction? I mean, beyond just kind of using chat GPT, throwing things out, building much more structured kind of like interactions with these different large language models.
I would say yes, and even I would have said that on this. I have said this on my LinkedIn as well that 2025 is the
Yeah.
year of AI agents, and
Okay.
AI agents are coming big time, and I'm a big proponent of them, and I really believe they are going to be the future, and they will coexist. And I see this shift as similar to a shift when you used to do physical shopping, and now
Uh-huh.
you do online shopping on e-commerce websites and all, and both of them coexist. Similarly, I have a philosophy that human workers and AI workers will coexist tomorrow in organizations. And there's a way to communicate between AI agents. There will be a protocol to communicate between AI and human workers. And
Yeah.
then, I guess in future, a lot of these things will be synonymously used because you'll be just concerned about getting your work done.
Right.
And AI agents by their nature are definitely going to coexist with human workers, at least for organizational work. And this is what I truly believe. And
Yeah.
if I tell you, even we are developing our own agentic AI in framework for helping companies streamline these workflows. That's still a current problem we are solving. This is the need of the hour, right? Because nobody, even if GPT is a tool, right? But
Yep.
more than tool, you need a system. Organizations need systems. So I say this analogy, Stephen, really often that if LLM is an engine,
Yeah.
then agentic AI is a fully powered car.
Right.
And when
That makes
engines
sense.
are, if
Right.
LLM,
Because I mean, well, I love actually. So I'm familiar with Swarm. I know OpenAI came out with that recently.
yeah,
There's, LangGraph, which edges and nodes, another nice sort of framework. They all
yeah.
they call themselves sort of like agent frameworks. And I guess I'm curious about how would you define an agent if really wanted to get crisp about this? I mean, what does it mean to create like, agents in a framework beyond kind of, sort of the hype? What does it look like?
So I'll break it down in very simple terms, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so there is an LLM. Okay, there are three components we should understand. One is an LLM. Okay, it could be any model: OpenAI, Anthropic Claude, Rabbitt.AI, right? A small language model also, Mistral, anybody. So we call
Yep.
that entity as an LLM. There's another entity called as tool. Tool
Hmm.
is an external thing which LLM can interact with. It could be calculator, it could be your camera, it could be your Google Drive, it could be your Slack.
Yep.
Okay, that's a tool which your device can have access to. And third is memory. Okay,
Yep.
a memory is basically you remember the conversations, you remember the things, you can
Yep.
store the data. So LLM, tool, and memory, these are the three things. Now, an agent is somebody which is a connecting point of all these three things and can execute a function in a
Got it.
non-deterministic manner as well. Now, if you, for example, I'll also give another simple example. So let's say if you call a series of LLMs in a deterministic manner, then that's not an AI agent.
Yeah.
It's a workflow.
Yeah.
If you make a hard-coded thing that first of all call a GPT, then check that response in another LLM, then do go back to the this LLM and publish this. So this is not an AI agent. This
Yeah.
is a work,
Yeah.
because here you don't need to store any information. Here you don't need to interact with any external tool. And here you are just making a chain of LLM calls. So we call this method as prompt chaining, and this
Yeah.
is a workflow. This is an LLM workflow. But where you attach a tool and a storage and a brain, all these things together, then it becomes an AI agent. Okay.
Got it. So
Another
let me, oh, sorry. Let me make sure I'm understanding what you're saying so far, because I love the way that you're explaining the different sort of, components that go into it. But it seems like, we're used to, I mean, all of the Anthropic, OpenAI, Gemini, they all offer LLMs, a way to extend them with tools. And you can use some of the tools to create like profiles in memory if you need to. So these are sort of like standard elements that they all have, but you're saying what's missing from that, what you really need to be able to create agents, is you need some sort of orchestration process. But it's not enough for it just to be a chain of things where you have like, an LLM putting an output, another LLM giving an output. You're saying it needs to be more. It needs to be, there has to be some sort of sort of AI driven decision about which, what the next LLM to go to is. It's sort of like going back to, like Swarm, where they have handoffs between different models that
exactly.
you can do, or in LangGraph, where they have their edges where you can have, intelligent decisions about, you can come up with very, I think they call them in the LangGraph cognitive architectures, which I think is, very cool, but where you can come up with very advanced cognitive architectures to explain sort of how to get from one state to another. And it's very non-deterministic, which I guess is an important part of intelligence, because if it's deterministic, that's just, a robot, that's just a standard algorithm. But we're trying to go beyond that and build more complex sort of solutions.
Exactly, exactly. And what actually is happening these days? These so agents are actually. I have a very clear way of defining this. 2023 and 2024 was the way where you were asking GPT certain things, and you were asking, and AI was just chatting, and that's
Yep.
where we get Chat GPT.
Yep.
Okay, and you were fine when AI was just chatting and telling you and consulting you. But now 2025 and beyond is the time where you're not just satisfied with AI talking, and you want AI to do stuff.
Yep.
Okay, if AI comes and tells you, boss Harneet, you should publish these blogs on your site, I'm like, I'm not satisfied, write these blogs for me and you go and publish. to uh, to to kind of enable this transition from
Yeah.
GPT chatting to
Yeah.
GPT doing, I would say that is agentic AI,
That's
right?
funny. So what popped into my mind was this analogy of, you're the CEO of a company. In 2023, it would be like if all your employees just kept telling you what you should do as the CEO all the time, that they're not capable of doing anything, but they're happy to discuss it. And you're saying that no, no, at this point, we need the actual, workers to be able to go off and do things on their own.
Honeymoon period is over. Now people
Yeah.
also want you to do the stuff which you are saying, and I guess
Yeah.
that's the next natural evolution. And that's where I'm very very bullish about AI agents. And there's another school of thought definition of anything which gets your work done is an AI agent.
Yeah.
Anything which
Okay.
gets your work done with AI is an AI agent. For example,
Yeah.
a very simple automation I have done at my own company. We have our sales and marketing teams who need to fill CRMs, mainly Salesforce and HubSpot, two CRMs we use. They need to fill it. So they need to go to their emails, they do them emails, and then they do calls and all that stuff. And at the end of the day, they need to fill these data and entries, right? So what we have done, we have created agent which actually integrates with their email, identifies one agent identifies all the emails in the day which has the sales intent and all, which is incoming or outgoing. Another agent converts it into an Excel file, and then third agent integrates with the Salesforce and populates all that data and gives it to the my sales rep that verify if this is all correct. If they say okay, his Salesforce is updated, and
Yeah.
this entire sequence takes less than 2 minutes. So this
Yeah.
for me is an agentic AI system, and this is a mixture of three agents working. Right? This is a simpler workflow where I am just scanning through my emails, making decision whether it's a sales one or not a sales one needs to be updated. Also checking with whether this deal was a newer one or an older one. That is where it has to put brain, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I can have, if I give you an example, one of my sales rep, real example, he sent 5 emails in the day. Now he as a human knows that three of them are previous leads and I'm just following up with a customer, and two
Yeah.
of them are fresh leads.
Yeah.
But for an AI to understand this, an LLM cannot understand this by default. That's where an agent is needed. So what will an agent do in this case? The question is whether this is an old lead or new lead. What do I put in the Salesforce CRM field? Old or new? Right?
Right.
Should I pull it? So they will do. They have a memory. They have the data of existing leads. They will scan through. Okay, they also have the memory of past 5 days, 6 days. So they'll scan through that database and Salesforce database to see whether this same name customer exists or not exists. So
Yeah.
their agent has to take a call to find a search tool, right? To call a search tool in Python. This is the call agent takes by itself. It searches, it does all the computation, analyzes these three leads are old leads. It's a follow up thing, and these two leads are new leads, and gives a handoff to another agent. The another agent gets that data in JSON format, checks the Salesforce fields, publishes it,
Yeah.
right? If there is a backtrack, anything does not fit, goes back to the previous agent. Otherwise, gives the handoff to the final user, like my sales rep. Boss, these are the 5 leads we have filled in your CRM. Does they look good, or you have any feedback for us? Approve or disapprove for
Yeah.
every entity. He
Yeah.
says okay, 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 not okay. He can do that and update it.
Yeah.
And the system eventually, one agent of all these agents is a master agent, which is learning over time, which is
Yeah.
storing all the chat history, which is storing all the activity history, and it will be retrained over time.
Interesting.
So agent
So
is for
it'll get better at it. Yeah.
yeah. So again, the example I give it to you. So I said if LLM is an engine, agentic
Yeah.
AI is the entire car.
Yeah.
Another is if LLM is a mind, brain, agentic AI is the body,
Yeah.
entire body. Now brain is
Yeah.
part of body, but body still has other functions which augments or which complements the brain, and
Yeah.
body knows when to use brain. Similarly, agent is largely LLM agent. Agent is largely LLM, but it is also beyond that. It saves the customer's conversation history, it saves the activity history, and it should have its own mind when to use this.
Right.
Okay. And
Yeah.
when to use a tool, and when to go back to the human user to get the
Yeah.
ground truth.
Yeah.
So that's where it becomes pretty interesting. Although brain
Yeah.
is same, right? 80% of it is LLM and all, and with LLMs integrating tools and all that is there. But the decision making for a particular problem solving, for a particular query answering, what do I need to do? That is agent's task. My
Yeah.
query is very simple. Populate my Salesforce with my sales rep data. Simple.
Yeah.
Whatever you need to do, you yourself decide whether you want to call a GPT or a cloud, you want to talk to my rep, but fill the data, right?
Right.
And this is where I guess if we build with this mindset, I call it, do GPT. Don't just chat GPT, do GPT.
I like that. Nice. Okay. Well, I mean, I guess I'm curious about, I mean, some fears about what you're talking about is like, how do humans fit into that, right? I mean, because we're getting closer to scenarios where, because I can't help thinking in my mind of those Tesla drivers who are like they fall asleep behind the wheel of the self-driving car and just keeps driving around with them. And they're supposed to be paying attention. They're supposed to be steering the steering wheel or, at least, paying attention if something goes off the rails. But, over time they don't, right? I mean, it's just because they've built some trust with their car and they don't worry about manually, like supervising everything. Is there are humans, I mean, like in your marketing case that you're talking about, you talk about, well, it's really important for humans to provide approval at a certain point before, which, obviously before you start sending off, marketing emails to your customers, you want some sort of human in the loop to make sure that you're not saying something crazy. But on the other hand, it feels like that becomes more like the person behind the self-driving car, which over time it kind of feels like, I don't know. I'm not, I guess I'm a little, I'm concerned about how humans will fit into this picture of, agents moving forward in companies. What do you see the roles of humans being in relationship to these, as these agents become more sophisticated?
I guess very interesting question, and I guess I get asked this question most number of times, whether it's India or UK or US.
Yeah.
And yes, this is a real question, but
Yeah.
I believe you get your answers in history. Let's go back in history. What happened when Industrial Revolution happened? Before Industrial Revolution, I'll take example of, let's say you have to dig a mine. You'll have 10 men who are like having a good body posture. They need good stamina, and you need them with axes and shovels to dig.
Yeah.
Okay, the digging remains the same, but now you have JCB, you
Yeah.
have a crane. Now you need a person, one person who can drive that crane and can dig probably 5 times more land. But
Yeah.
does that mean neither mining is going anywhere, nor those workers are going anywhere? It's just a shift. Because of
Yeah.
that JCB coming into picture, I guess they are digging up the whole world. Earlier, if they were just making a city,
Right.
now cities and multitude of cities are built, and every village somewhere is getting transformed into a city. What I mean is the applications increase and job roles change, and humans need to shift, because if they still think of working the same old way, right, and digging the thing with their hand does not make sense. But at the same time, you will still require that human to operate the JCB, one human to help them, and one human, probably another job is created where you need maintenance of JCB. Another job is created who is selling the JCB to the construction companies,
Yeah.
and these kind of jobs are created. Now, all the five people who were on the ground earlier digging, maybe one of them is sitting on the JCB, one of them is reskilled to guide that JCB person, one of them develops skills to maintain that JCB, another guy goes up and sells that JCB to construction companies. So that will happen in the era of agents. We will still not move to autonomous future where AI will rule the world. I have a
Yeah.
belief humans will still be there, and humans will be in the oversight, and I guess then there will be role for more smarter and smarter humans. For example, workers can be at stake. Workers can do this oversight kind of thing, but if you are an entrepreneur and you want to send mails to your customers, you will definitely be the human in the loop before letting AI lead this. It's similar to, as I said, human workers and AI agents will become synonymous in some extent. It's similar to if I receive an email from my intern or from the my marketing team, and if I have to send it to the president of France, or to any of my prospect, I'll definitely review it before sending, and I'll pass
Hopefully.
back the
Yeah.
information.
Right.
So similar way, I guess
Yeah.
with agents also, human will be there in the loop as a supervisor always. That's a
Yeah.
fundamental ground truth. You're not gonna replace it, right? Because till the time both the sides, humans are the decision makers, which I feel is gonna be eternal.
Yeah.
You will require human in the loop, but at the same time, other humans, like the number of humans required for per activity per task will drastically reduce because of this automation and efficiency gains and the superpower we have discovered recently.
Yeah.
So what that means is there will be a lot of reskilling, upskilling, transformation transfers required,
Yeah.
uh, and if we don't do it, and I feel this is our moral responsibility as well. See, so I gave this statement, Stephen. back in 2019, I made a prediction. I make some predictions every year. I made a prediction that to code the next generation of software, you won't need coders, you won't need software
Right.
developers. And I gave this talk at one of the colleges in India, and those people were like, "No, no, no, sir, what are you saying? Coding jobs will still be very high paying roles and all, and coders are not going to go anywhere." So I'm like, but definitely we can see that kind of automation coming where the
Yeah.
coding job will not be same. Even the languages have become easier. And
Yeah.
that's also a natural evolution. Earlier you need to know machine language to work with computers, then
Oh
assembly
yeah.
language,
Yep.
then low level programming language,
Yep.
and then high level programming language, which is also natural English. Now you're not
Yep.
going to code in ones and zeros, and you're not going to code with abacus, and you're not
Right.
going to be Lady Lovelace, right?
Yeah.
Computers sitting in a big tower
Babbage
just
engine doing the yeah no yeah no I start I what was it called negative 551 I start with Apple II computers falling into machine language coding byte by byte. We got worked up to assembly language. I was so excited when Turbo Pascal came up, and that was super high level language. But now, I mean, the way that I program now is completely different than the way I programmed a year ago, because now I
yes,
use I use Cursor or VS Code, and I'm just using Copilot directly in it. And it's more like a conversation now in
yeah,
natural language, where,
true,
I consider myself a pretty good, programmer. I've been doing it for a lot of years, but I gotta say, through conversations with the different AI models, I use a lot of different models when I'm programming. I switch back and forth, but they can do a better job usually. They'll pick up
yes,
on things that are just to simplify the code, to structure it, or even ask for like naming conventions, and it's good on things like that, and how to provide better documentation and unit tests, and it's really good at that. And it's just, I mean, I'm already finding that I'm more in sort of like a dev manager role than a programmer role right now,
yeah,
because I'm more like, telling it, well, I would like it to do this, and speaking at a very high level, and it's able to do that. And I guess going back to, I liked your analogy of how, looking in the past, how what happened was that, we used to have like, to dig a mine, we used to have like 10 people do it. As you pointed out, we had machines that can do it now. So we've eliminated the need for physical labor. And so
yeah,
we've taken out that whole category of work. And I don't think, my grandfather used to, dig coal. That's what he did. It was, horrible, backbreaking work. It was awful. No one would want to do that. I'm very happy that no one needs to dig coal all day anymore, because it's
right,
not a fun job. So, plus one for humanity. But I guess it's a little different when you're talking about AI, because you're talking about like replacing intelligence, which I think people think of intelligence, create and creativity. Those are more sort of central to what it means to be a human, and we take a lot of pride in that. But I
mm,
think that's where people find it more threatening. And I think I'm interested when you're saying like we need to think about like shifting, reskilling people and shifting what they do. I think that's the interesting question to me, because I think that there's certain types of intelligences that aren't going to
yeah,
be so important anymore. They're going to be like the backbreaking labor, and they'll go away. But there's other types of intelligence that we will need. I agree with you. I don't think we want to give up, everything to the AI overlords and have them run everything. I mean, we need to run our businesses and get stuff done and make decisions. And so I guess I'm still struggling with what's that reschooling going to look like. Like my niece is just graduating in computer science. She's just got her computer science degree. And I'm like thinking, what's her future look like here as a computer scientist? Because, I mean, the world's different. And so, I mean, should she be thinking more of like a management job? Or, I mean, what do you think that when you talk, when you're talking about like people shifting and reskilling, where do you think the future is moving toward? What do you think people will be doing?
okay. Pretty interesting questions. I guess 3, 4 questions. I'll answer one
Yeah.
by one.
Oh, sorry.
I'll go
I
back to
threw a
the
lot of questions at you.
Yeah. I'll go back to the first question. So I guess there is an illusion. We were living in an illusion that every desk job is an intelligent job,
Yeah.
which is not true. I'll put that,
Yes.
right?
I've done a lot of those. Yes.
At the
So-called, yeah,
expense
intelligent
of
jobs.
offending
Yeah.
people, at the
Yeah.
expense of offending some people, people sitting on the desk used to say that all these are white collar jobs, but all white collar jobs are not intelligent jobs.
Right.
right? A lot of them are pretty redundant and pretty mundane jobs.
Yeah.
That is number one. Number two is, as you were saying, AI is not going to replace all sort of intelligence. It is just going to automate a lot of things for you, which earlier you required a lot of human dependence,
Yeah.
right? For example, writing language, writing code. I just say that I have a quick theory. There are four layers of computer, four revolutions of computer. Number one was a time when computers could store information better than humans, right?
Yeah.
Better than files and floppy disks. That's where you have the physical world of big files transforming into the pen drive or a computer device and all, right? That is where storage. Second is compute, where we also realize that computers can compute faster than humans, and there was no need of human mathematics and people who were good at maths and calculating numbers. Now you have calculators at your disposal, and you can even compute means you can find information in a big encyclopedia which you could not find by turning ruffling pages of an encyclopedia. So that is where humans can store, humans can compute. Third was where humans can analyze and humans can predict, right? Or humans can sorry computers can analyze, predict, and connect. So that
Mhm.
was the internet revolution where computers can talk to other computers. That means they can communicate, they can share information, send, get information. That's where the email, the e-commerce, and everything was happening.
Yeah.
Only thing which was missing in this entire thing was, in all this scenario, computers was not generating. They were just transferring information, storing information, computing information. Now you have another superpower revealed of these computers, which is they can generate information as well. This is the
Yeah.
fourth layer. Now they can generate code, they can generate natural language, and they can generate songs, and they can generate the output just as humans can do. And I feel this is, yeah, this is a little bit worrisome, but it is not. This is also very natural evolution. And with all these evolutions, if we have not displaced a lot of jobs and humanity, I believe this is also a series. Only thing, we are alive most and we are most connected. So this fear and this negativity spreads faster than positivity, and people are thinking too much. But I believe this is a superpower unlocked, which can help you and me and other people in the world pursue their dreams, which we have never thought of.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm coming now. This is now I'll come to your. I hope I've answered this right with this
Yeah.
theory, this
I
natural
think
shift.
what to summarize, we probably didn't want to do a lot of those white collar jobs anyway because they're incredibly boring. So that's probably again a win for humanity. But yeah,
Plus one for humanity, because I'm very, very positive about AI and I have all
yeah,
the logics for it. As I said, this is the fourth evolution. Three evolutions
yeah,
have already happened. If you've survived through all of them, I
yeah,
guess this is also where humanity will survive. Now coming to next question, what sort of jobs will like how what is happening on the reskilling side and what we need to reskill? And that's where even we started our philanthropic initiative at Rabbit, called as Rabbit Learning, where we are giving away all this information at very low cost, and we are to a layman, to a known technical person, we are also teaching how to use AI tools and generative AI for improving the efficiency of their work, for doing their business and all that stuff. And that's where we do a lot of free courses and very premium content we give to the people, so that they also come up to speed. And this is required, this is, by the way,
yeah,
required lawyers, for doctors, for accountants, for computer science people, for designers, for developers. Everybody need to understand how they can utilize this superpower or they'll be left behind.
yeah,
Now now coming to the your final question, how reskilling and what is where, if somebody who's a recent graduate or overall, where the focus should be. So I believe we are back to basics. There was a 2025 year of euphoria where you learned certain skills and you were very, very valuable.
yeah,
This 25 year, I would say from 2000 to 2025, was that year where you learned Java and you are suddenly worth $100,000 a year. You learned Python and you are suddenly worth $120,000 a year. So we were very short. We were progressing toward a very short-lived skill economy where we were just producing gig workers in large amounts, and people were not really focusing on fundamentals
Yeah.
because we did not have any competition of humans. Today, I
Yeah.
look at it that way, that whatever work on this gig side, what humans were doing, now AI agents and AI models are also able to do similar kind of stuff. Now it's a supply demand competition. You suddenly have another supply coming
Yeah.
in. So
Yeah.
humans cannot pick all the things. Eventually, by law of evolution, they will survive where they are more competent than the AI.
Yeah.
Logical, Darwin's principle, survival of the fittest. If AI is able to give me code at a lower rate and lower
Right.
tantrums, and I
Right.
don't need to take care of their emotions and mood swings, and
Right.
probably deal with their ego and all that stuff, I'll definitely go with
Yeah.
AI.
Yeah.
But at
Yeah.
the same
Yeah.
time, humans need to figure out
Right.
what are the areas where they can still be more productive. And I
Right.
believe those areas which I can very clearly see today. Number one, I guess, working with AI, right?
Yeah.
And enhancing the scope of your work. So, for example, yesterday in Rabbit Learning itself, we got a proposal from one of the big school chains that they want to teach kids AI. What are the AI curriculum we should teach kids in school, and how we can make them actually excited about AI and give them real skills. Now that's a problem statement I am solving. Even the school has access to AI models. I have access to AI models. They're still paying me a couple $1,000s to consult them to create a
Yeah.
curriculum for them which can excite their kids and make their school an AI powered school.
Yeah.
I go back to my team. We discussed it, we brainstormed it, and we are all augmented by AI tools. I have my own access to all these three tools. My team has that access, but still the problem solving, understanding the human behavior, understanding user intent, and designing and customizing products as per my
Yeah.
use case, delivering convenience and experience to your customer. This will always be a human power. I said convenience and experience to the
Yeah.
end customer.
Yeah.
Doing that will always be a human power.
Well, that's awesome. Well, this has been a fantastic discussion. I super appreciate you taking the time today. One question is, if people want to learn more about Rabbit AI and some of the other initiatives that you've been talking about, what's the best way for them to learn more about this?
I guess our website,
Uh-huh.
Rabbitt.AI, Rabbitt.AI website is there. A lot of things are mentioned over there, and you have our LinkedIn page as well. Rabbitt.AI, own your data, own your AI. My own LinkedIn, Harneet SN. So we post a lot of these things on LinkedIn and on our website. And yeah, that's the best way to reach us as well. And I'm also very active on LinkedIn, so we keep posting all these things and a lot of interesting things we are doing with Rabbit AI's models. If I tell you one interesting thing we're going to do in future, I am creating my own clone which can attend video calls like this, and probably you know is trained on my speech and then
Right,
give you
right,
insights
right.
on my behalf.
You're
Till
duplicating yourself. Yeah.
or it
You're
can
becoming an army.
yeah. So
Nice.
this is something we are trying to do with our models, and these are more
Hmm.
of experimental thing. These are not commercial things because production scale this is still not possible and not viable
Yeah,
financially. So we do a lot of fun stuff with AI as well. When we want to teach school kids and college kids, we do this fun stuff. We create a face recognition engine. We create a game with AI. We create all that stuff, and then we do serious work with defense and education and marketing with AI.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then we build all these architectures to make AI scalable, faster, cheaper, more workable, and then
yeah.
we spread education around AI. So that's what we keep doing.
I gotta say that sounds like a lot of fun. So I'm envious of that. That's very exciting work. So, well, again, thank you for your time today. It was great discussing this stuff with you, and I'll look forward to talking to you in the future.
Sure, sure, sure. Thanks a lot for having me, Stephen. It was a wonderful talk, and your questions are really intriguing, I must say. So it was lovely talking to you.
Awesome.
Thank you for joining us for the OpenAI Changes Everything podcast. where we explore how OpenAI is transforming the future of humanity. Please remember to subscribe to ensure that you receive future episodes.